What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the channel. In today's video, we're going to be continuing our series reviewing the most important ratings and traits associated with various positions within Madden 24. And in today's video, we're going to be covering the running back position, an often overlooked position, and especially in today's NFL, an overlooked position, a position that is often considered a very easily replaceable position. And that is somewhat the case, especially in the real NFL and in Madden as well. But there are some really good ways to get production out of these players that involve targeting specific ratings that are going to be really crucial for having a good running back, even if they're a lower overall. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this. Today, we're going to be looking at my Seahawks team in this franchise and comparing some things between Kenneth Walker III as our primary example and other running backs within the league. Kenneth Walker is actually a really good example of a fantastic, if not one of the best running backs to try to utilize in Madden 24 franchise mode, considering his age, considering his overall and his athletic capability. Now, a lot of people are going to say that speed is king with the running back position, and that is somewhat true, but there are more important ratings than just a player's straight line speed at the running back position in order to be successful here within Madden. And the most important of those ratings, in my opinion, is going to be a player's acceleration. There are running backs within the NFL that are slower, that have good acceleration, that are very usable within Madden, and there are running backs that have higher speed that don't have good acceleration, that are not as usable within the game. What really matters for a running back, because of how quick the action happens from this position between getting the ball, cutting and getting to the line of scrimmage and getting past tacklers, is how quickly they can get up to their top speed. If they cannot quickly get up to their top speed, they are going to struggle to be as effective. If you get a running back like Kenneth Walker III here who has 94 acceleration, you're going to be in really good shape. And you'll see that some of the top running backs within the league actually have very good acceleration. A great example of this is a Christian McCaffrey. Though he only currently has 91 speed, he actually appears quite quicker because of his 93 acceleration. Being able to jump up to that top speed as quickly as possible is very noticeable within the game. And then you have running backs like Derrick Henry that have 91 speed but only 86 acceleration. It's not like Derrick Henry's not usable. We all know he's a fantastic running back within Madden, and there's other factors at play that influence what Derrick Henry is able to do within the game, and there's other reasons, like I said, why he's going to be effective. But you're going to very often see some of those running backs that have low acceleration not be quite as good. They've actually done a very good job this year of making it so that pretty much every top running back within the game is going to have really solid acceleration, which is a nice thing to see from Madden. You can see that a lot of these players have 93, 94, 95 acceleration, which is absolutely huge at that position. It's going to mean that you're going to be able to burst through holes quicker. It means that once you make a cut, you're going to be able to get back up to your top speed and burn a defender. It means you're going to be able to have that breakaway capability that you wouldn't otherwise have if you don't have that acceleration to get up to your top speed. So while speed is going to be considered important for this position, and I specifically consider it to be one of the top ratings that you're going to want to look for, you're going to want to consider a player's acceleration above and beyond anything else at this position. And then we really start to get into what type of running back you're using and what you plan to be doing with your running back, because certain things are going to carry more weight than others depending on what you're doing with them. If you're running a Derrick Henry type of a player and you don't expect to be making a lot of moves, then you're not going to care a whole lot about a player's agility and spin move and juke move and those types of things. But if you're running an elusive back like Kenneth Walker and you're running a speed back type of a system, then you're going to want to make sure you focus on a player's agility and change of direction next, because if they are not able to change direction, if they're not able to cut and make moves, if they're not able to have a good spin move and juke move to be able to get away from a defender, they're going to be significantly less effective as a running back. And that is, priority number one for that type of a running back. But if you're a Derrick Henry type of a running back, again, a power back, somebody that's going to be more strength based, more break tackle based, then you're going to want to look more towards their break tackle rating, their trucking rating, and their strength ratings before you ever consider their agility and change of direction and those types of things. They're more of a straight line player, and that's perfectly fine. There's different ways to attack this position and different ways to have a very effective running back within Madden 24. Kenneth Walker, though, is my prototypical type of a running back, where I'm going to get a guy that's fast, that can get up to his top speed quick, and he's going to be shifty. He's going to be able to change direction. He's going to be agile. He's going to be light on his feet and be able to get through gaps that a bigger guy might not be able to, or a less agile guy might not be able to. And he's going to be able to make cuts into lanes that some other running backs aren't going to be capable of doing. Two ratings here that are going to be extremely overrated for running backs in user gameplay are going to be ball carrier vision and awareness. You're going to see this on these players' player cards. They are not ratings that you want to focus on whatsoever with running backs unless you're doing simulation gameplay. They're going to impact simulation gameplay and how well these backs find holes. But in user gameplay, you're deciding where you're going with the football. You're the one that is the eyes for that running back. So ball carrier vision and awareness just simply serve to hyperinflate a running back's rating within Madden, something you want to, in most leagues, kind of shy away from. If a player has high ball carrier vision, high awareness, it might be overrating that player based on what their other ratings are. So keep that in mind as you go through here. Those are two of the least useful ratings for a running back within Madden 24. And then the next thing here to consider is going to be a player's break tackle rating. That's going to be one of the most important ratings within the game. Depending on what you're trying to do with your running back as well, their trucking rating, their stiff arm rating can be used effectively, but more so than anything, their break tackle rating, because you want to be able to trigger those break tackle animations that are going to get you a couple of extra yards. That's going to combine with their fight for extra yards trait. If you can get that on your running back, it's going to be extremely helpful to that player. But that's going to combine with that to get you a lot of animations where you're falling forward, where you're breaking a tackle and getting extra yardage and that type of thing. And that's really what you want from your running backs. You want to be able to do more than just get into an open gap and then get tackled by the first tackler. You want to be able to make arm tackles miss. You want to be able to gain a couple extra yards to put your team in more advantageous situations and maybe break away occasionally for that big touchdown run or that long gainer. So you're going to want to make sure that you have a running back that, in addition to everything else we've said, has that good break tackle rating. In Madden 24, I've not seen a particularly good spin move animation. That doesn't mean that guys that are good with the sticks aren't going to be able to pull off good spin moves and that type of thing. I just find it to be far less reliable with all of the running backs that I've used. So I highly recommend that you focus more on your juke move than your spin move. Get a player that has a good juke move. It's going to be just generally, on the average, more reliable for you than the spin move is going to be, even at a high rating. Spin move, I'm happy to kind of neglect most of the time with my running backs. And then a player's strength rating is actually going to be really, really important, and this is going to tie into a player's size as well. This is one of the most overlooked factors for running backs. A player's strength rating is going to help determine whether they can break tackles, whether they can truck a guy, stiff arm a guy, and those types of things. And in addition to that, a player's size is going to factor into what they're capable of doing at that running back position. So Kenneth Walker, for example, is 5'9" to 11. He's kind of a smaller running back. He's really not that big as compared to a lot of other guys in the league. And we've talked about this in multiple other videos, but once you start to get up into the 220s, 230s, we got to talk about who we're going up against and how we're able to break tackles and that type of thing. When you're going up against most linebackers, you're going to be going up against guys that are significantly heavier than that. As you can see here with the top middle linebackers in the game, Fred Warner's 230, Roquan Smith 232, Levante David 233, Demario Davis 248, Nick Bolton 237, Devondre Campbell 232, so on and so forth. This is going to kind of show you guys that running backs that are bigger are going to have an advantage in some of the equations that are going on behind the scenes. Whenever you get some of these guys that are 205 pounds, they're going to struggle to break those tackles, but there's a reason there's kind of a threshold for this. Anything above like 235, 240 pounds is going to put you at an advantage when it comes to getting those animations for break tackles and falling forward. Derrick Henry is so effective within the game because of his strength rating and because of his break tackle, trucking ratings, and his size. His size alone is absolutely monstrous. And I've demonstrated this in games prior, and it's the same thing in this year's game. There are some very low overall running backs that are like this size, 240 pounds, 6'2", 6'3", and they're just able to fall forward because their size is better than the players that they're matching up against. Whereas you get a player that's, lighter, 205, 208, 210, something like that, like an Aaron Jones or a Dalvin Cook, and they're not going to fall forward necessarily as much as a Derrick Henry sized player would, or a Najee Harris sized player would, because of that lack of weight and that lack of height. Those do factor into the equations behind the scenes, and it's something you really want to focus on. The bigger the running back you can get with some of those ratings that you're looking for is going to be that much better for you in the long run. Those little inches and yards are going to add up that you get off of those animations from those players. And then finally, we're going to take a look at the secondary attributes page here for these players. There are some really important things here if you want your running back to be good in the receiving game. We'll talk quickly about their injury, their stamina, and their toughness. Injury, stamina, toughness, all going to be somewhat important to these players staying healthy and staying on the field. This is clearly a position that gets used a lot. They take a lot of damage, they take a lot of punishment, they deal a lot of punishment too, but that means that these players need to be able to hold up. If you get a running back that has low injury, low stamina, low toughness, you're going to be in trouble in the long run with that player. They're not going to be as reliable, they're not going to be on the field as much as you would like them to, and it does happen pretty much 10 times out of 10 that you're going to lose some of those players that are not as reliable in that category. But moving on, let's talk about the receiving ratings, because there are some things that people do not pay attention to if they want their back to be a good receiving threat that are hampering their receiving capabilities. Everybody, of course, is going to want solid catching on their running back. I mean, solid catching for a running back is anything like 70 and above. Typically, you'll get a good receiving back with, 72, 73, maybe 75 catching, and that's going to be considered pretty good for a running back. So that's kind of the threshold that you're looking for. The closer you can get to that, the better. But then you're also going to want to pay attention to these players' short route running, their medium route running, and their release. These are going to be incredibly important ratings, not to mention their catch in traffic and spec catch, depending on how often you're throwing the ball and whether you're trying to throw it to them with other players covering them. But I think one of the most overlooked ratings is going to be a running back's release rating. Running backs are going to have a much easier time getting out on screen passes and getting out past their offensive line in certain routes if they have a good release rating. If you've ever noticed that your running back is getting caught on your offensive line a lot, it's likely due to a poor release rating. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. It's something that is really, really overlooked. In addition to that, their route running can affect that as well. Their ability to get out of the backfield, get to where they need to be. That's going to be extremely helpful in their receiving game as a running back. And then the final thing I want to cover here is actually a pretty important trait for running backs. Most of these are not going to be that important. We already talked about fights for extra yards. Covers the ball, though, is going to be one of the most important traits for running backs that is often overlooked. And this is more so for CPU gameplay, sim gameplay. A running back that does not cover the ball as often is actually better for CPU gameplay than a running back that covers the ball. Typically, you would look at this and say, oh, he covers the ball for all hits, or he always covers the ball. That's a good thing. No, it's actually not. That is going to prevent the back from making moves, making cuts, trying to juke, trying to spin, trying to get away from tacklers. You want the running backs that don't cover the ball. The less often that they cover the ball, the better, actually. I think personally that the ideal trait here is on big hits. You want the player to cover the ball whenever there's going to be a big hit, because that's going to help prevent fumbles. But against medium hits, what's it matter? If your running back has a good carrying rating, that's not going to matter a whole lot, if at all. And then covering against all hits, small hits, those types of things, it's going to prevent them from getting those animations. It's going to prevent them in those types of scenarios from breaking away from tacklers. So it's certainly something that you guys want to consider that's going to be really important for your running back. And then, of course, it's always important to talk about a running back's carrying rating. It's not the most important rating, but it is important in terms of hanging on to the football. 90 is kind of what you're aiming for. If you can get 90 and above, you're going to be in good shape. You're not going to be fumbling the ball often. Honestly, you can get away with a running back that has carrying that's like 85 plus, but sometimes you'll get a top end running back that is just not very good at holding on to the football. There are some running backs, and you can see them even right here, like Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook, that have carrying in the 80s, Austin Eckler 86. That's going to result in a lot of fumbles if they are taking hit sticks, if they are having strip animations against them. So you do want to keep that in mind. Hopefully you found this information or this video useful and informative. If you did, leave a like down below, comment, and subscribe. As always, I'll see you in the next video.